وعلي أصبح يفديه.
Latest nasheeds, celebrity artist features.
Assalamu alaikum, Ismail.
حبيبي يا محمد أتيت بالسلام والهدى محمد.
Events, news from the nasheed world, top 10 countdown. The Sunday Lounge with Salma Kazi Wahab.
The views and opinions expressed by the guest and presenters of Radio Al Ansar are not necessarily the views and opinions of Radio Al Ansar and the Al Ansar Foundation.
Doctors and guests on a Medical Files program will help you with any medical problems you have by giving you advice on air. However, they do not have your full medical history and they have not seen you. Please verify the advice given to you on air with your doctor who knows you better. Neither the doctors nor Radio Al Ansar will be held responsible for any ill health caused by the advice given on Radio Al Ansar.
You are listening to a live broadcast from Radio Al Ansar, Pietermaritzburg, 105.6 FM.
Did you look at the night, see the light of the moon? Did you look at the sun, giving you warmth? Did you look at the sky? Are you falling in love? It is from the Creator. You can't get enough. He is everywhere, and He knows we stare. Yes, He knows. Yes, He knows. He knows. You've got the world in your hands. He's the one who we're thanking for life. He is a Rahman. He is a Rahman. See the birds how to fly, feel the tears when you cry. He's the one who gives everything. He'll never leave you behind. 'Cause He's the one that always makes things better. And He's the one that always lives forever. He's everywhere. He knows we stay. Yes, He knows. Yes, He knows. You've got the world in your hands. You gotta thank Him for life. He is a Rahman. He is a Rahman. Look from where you're standing.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to our listeners on this vibrant Saturday morning on Radio Al Ansar 90.4 and Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM. You are connected with Shubnum Ismail on the Pietermaritzburg Pulse Show, capturing the heartbeat of our community. I'm thrilled to have registered dietitian Laika Maharaj. It's World Nutrition Week and we're kicking it off with the bang. And joining me today, she's going to dish out all the facts about nutrition. We'll be discussing the latest insights on healthy eating, discussing common myths, as well as exploring practical tips for a balanced lifestyle. Welcome to the Pulse Show, Laika, and I'm looking forward to sharing your expertise.
Thanks for having me, Shubnum. I'm really honored to be on your show and to finally introduce myself to your viewership.
Lovely. So listeners, Laika is a registered dietitian who is passionate about helping people take control of their health through evidence-based, personalized nutrition. She works across with patients in stages of their life from women's health, postpartum, hormonal balance, as well as recovery from complex conditions such as diabetes, renal failure, oncology, and critical illness, and so much more. So she believes that nutrition isn't a one-size-fits-all. It's about meeting you where you are. So understanding your lifestyle and creating a plan that works for you. So, whether you're an athlete aiming to optimize performance, a busy parent navigating family health, or someone just managing a medical condition, we have Laika right here to guide you every step of the way on the Pulse Show. So, listeners, your health journey is unique. Let's make it count and let's unpack everything about nutrition. We're going to dive straight in. So, Laika, can you tell us why did you choose nutrition as a career?
That is an excellent question, Shubnum, and I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible. But it wasn't actually my first choice. And to be very honest, before I studied dietetics, I wasn't really sure what exactly did this profession, consist of. And what more is there to eating food? And does it really impact you? Like, these are questions that never occurred to me. And in fact, I actually started off by studying physiotherapy at Stellenbosch. And, it was just not working for me. I needed something a bit more interactive, a bit more coaching, a bit more individualized, where you really get into understanding that patient. And the wind actually just blew me into dietetics because my mom says you had to do a structured degree. And I said, okay, fine. Well, you know what? I know somebody who's gone to a dietitian and that seems very interesting. So I think I'm going to start there. And ever since then, I have learned something different about the career, the scope, everything about dietetics. I learn something new every day. And that is so important because I'm always fascinated by the profession and just what it brings.
And Alhamdulillah, obviously, I work with a multidisciplinary team myself in my career. And a dietitian plays such an important role. And as we discussed earlier before the show, you obviously see your patients from inception, from the mom before giving
100%,
birth,
yeah.
and then you probably end up seeing the children, you see the adults and the teenagers, and obviously going through the livelihood and the stages, and that's so beautiful.
It really is beautiful. And Shabnam, it's even more beautiful to see how nutrition impacts you from conception right up until very older in your lifetime. And I always say this, we have only recently discovered just how important nutrition is. And it really should come in as a preventative measure rather than coming in where it's a bit too late.
And I hear the slogan often, you are what you eat. Would you like to elaborate on that?
I love that. I love that slogan. Yes, you are what you eat, but I think that we tend to take that term very literally. And I think from a dietetics perspective, if you look at you are what you eat, I'm thinking, I am protein, I am muscle. So I should be eating protein. I am a gut microbiome, so I should be eating fermentable foods. So if you look at it in a very different manner, it starts to make the goal seem slightly more achievable.
Yes.
And less like I'm feeling like a cupcake or a piece of chocolate.
Can you elaborate about the components of a balanced diet for our listeners?
That's an excellent question. And I think for a very long time, we looked at the components of a balanced diet and we specified that it should be carbohydrates, fats, or proteins. But as a recent research has told us, we must include fiber as a part of a balanced diet. So I would say a balanced diet is having fiber, protein, good quality carbs, and good quality fats. That's a balanced diet.
I hope you're taking note, listeners, because I'm definitely taking some notes. And in terms of food allergies and intolerance, would you like to elaborate a little bit about that?
Yes, I would actually. Being someone who suffered with allergies and intolerances for a very long time, a most common allergy I see, and that's usually in children under the age of 5, is a cow's milk allergy. And it presents itself in very uncomfortable ways to the kiddie, and in terms of constipation or reflux for that matter. And we expect it to sort of resolve after some time. But during that time, it's important for us to also note that that child does need dairy or protein for that matter to a certain extent. So it's really about working with that child and that mom and that family to try and incorporate nutrition in the best way possible. And in adults, I usually would see the typical nuts, peanuts, but commonly, I've seen dust mite allergy, and I wondered, how does this affect my patient sitting in front of me in terms of diet? And when I dug a little bit deeper, I found that a dust mite allergy affects a client or a patient when they've eaten a dry food which may contain the exoskeletons of mites.
Really? Wow.
So I actually have two patients that I'm now trying to work with their mite allergy, and I've tried to put them on some canned food and see how they react.
So just to
yeah.
elaborate on that, because I'm curious. So is it obviously the property that they reside in? Do they need to
Yes.
hygiene, vacuum, and
100%. And
Okay.
a mite allergy is definitely mainly carpets, bedding, mainly carpets and bedding, curtains. So they don't really recommend that you've got carpets in a house if you've got severe dust mite allergy. And just frequent cleaning and vacuuming really plays a very important role. Yeah.
Wonderful. So let's talk about dietary concerns. What's the best approach to dealing with gluten intolerance?
That's a good question, Shabnam. So gluten intolerance, and if I just want to chat about where it originated, the gluten studies are mainly done in an American context, where we find a high incidence of celiac disease, which is related to gluten intolerance. I do find a lot of patients come to me here in a South African context where celiac disease is not nearly as common in terms of research as the American research is. And people tend to, I got a irritable stomach and leave gluten out entirely, which often isn't the case. So if we can test for celiac disease, or we can test for through elimination diets, sensitivity and non-celiac disease related gluten intolerance, which in my time I've seen maybe just under a handful of patients that really couldn't. And that too, it was in combination with intolerances of other foods as well. And then we also need to consider, are you gluten intolerant, or do you just have a very poor gut microbiome because you're eating badly all this time? So lots to consider.
I'm assuming you work with medical professionals, a multidisciplinary team. So
Yes.
Depending on the gut, you have to send them for further screenings, tests. So you obviously getting a blueprint in order to put the diet plan so that it's able to assist the patient going forward.
Often enough, Shubnam, I feel like doing an adequate history taking is enough for me to figure out whether it really is a poor lifestyle resulting in poor gut habits, or is it really irritable bowel or irritable bowel disease for that matter, or is it something more severe? So from all of the courses that I've learned, the first place to start with the patient would always be on a clean slate. So balance the diet and move from there. And then you get to a point where you say, okay, now I've got to eliminate, because I've balanced your diet and I've tried to sort out everything in accordance to the guidelines, and you're still not reacting very well. So then we would take it a step further.
Can you enlighten our listeners about keto, intermittent fasting? Is it safe and effective?
If it's done correctly within the correct cohort or within the correct patient base, given your goal, yes, it could benefit you. But if you're a person who likes breakfast every day, or if you're a person who really does like your potato, that is not going to work for you. And then you're going to start, you're going to be feeling very demotivated. So I try to always incorporate the potato here and there, even if it's in a curry or a biryani or wherever, because we want you to stay true to yourself.
Yes.
So even if you are following those diets, follow it in a way that doesn't make you compromise too much.
I think it's about sustainability and
It
consistency.
It really is, Shabnam. You want something that is going to be a change of lifestyle, which is sustainable for you. And the only way you would do that is if you find something that does work within your lifestyle. And once again, it's about being mindful about your life, mindful about your eating patterns, mindful about what's going wrong where, so then you can make the changes. And food is so psychological.
Absolutely.
It is so psychological.
And, obviously, you encourage your patient, stay hydrated. It's all
100%.
about that balanced meal and what they're putting into their system.
Yes, it really is. You are what you eat. Not a cupcake, because you can't be a cupcake, but it is what you eat.
Yes. Moving on, can you explain some of the common food allergies and their symptoms?
Definitely, I think from a food perspective, it ranges between not so bad to severe anaphylaxis, especially when it comes to food allergies. In kiddies, we see the constipation and gastrointestinal discomfort in younger ages. And in some shellfish allergies, we see urticaria and anaphylaxis. So some allergies we can't avoid. We have to leave them out entirely. And symptoms do vary from minor to hospitalization.
Okay. Luckily, I haven't had any of that, so I can.
Thank goodness.
I'm spoiled for choice.
Yeah.
So, Laika, what is the biggest nutrition myth you have encountered?
Oh my gosh, where do I start? The one that really got me is that a lot of my patients were doing this coffee and lemon sort of a mix at one point when TikTok started. And I just didn't understand what was this about. I think it was 3 teaspoons of coffee and 2 teaspoons of lemon juice or something like that. And they would drink it and it would just make them run to the loo all day. And I said, no, that's not going to work. We're talking sustainability. So that was one. The other nutrition myth that really gets me is that you've got to leave carbs out to be healthy. And I think that it's important to make sure that your brain uses glucose, which comes from carbs, as an energy source. And it really is about the quality of the carbs that you have, much over the quantity. You can't put diesel in a petrol tank. Your brain only takes carbs. So you've got to put carbs.
So, listeners, as you've heard it from the expert, Laika, your brain needs to be active. It needs the energy source. You need the carbs. It's important for you to keep those ingredients into your system. We're going to take a short ad break. And when we return, we'll be back in conversation with our leading registered dietitian, Laika Maharaj, who's filling in on the insights of nutrition. We'll be back shortly.
Welcome to Simplex Radio. Visit our showroom for the full range of car audio. Our TV department carries top brands with quality LED panels, full HD to Ultra HD, and now the experience of Super Ultra HD. Visit our theater rooms and transform your home with brands like Onkyo, Integra, Denon, Boston Acoustics, Yamaha, and more for quality audio visual experience. Now available, full range of home appliances. A one-stop shopping experience. Call 031 306 4029 or Kenilworth Park, 202 Brickfield Road, Overport. Simplex Radio, the name you can trust.
Join us for the grand opening of Durban India Shopping Festival, 27th September, with entertainment by Versatile and Vande Mataram Dance Academy. Get all your Diwali shopping done in one place for the whole family. Monday to Thursday, free entry. Friday to Sunday and public holidays, only 20 Rand per person. Don't miss the biggest shopping experience, the biggest fireworks display, and the biggest car giveaway, happening only at Old Durban Drive-In. Durban India Shopping Festival. We bring India to you.
Ladies, get ready to bedazzle. Join us October 30th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. for a high tea live broadcast at the Al-Ansar Conference Center. Celebrating 5 years of A Woman with Me, Razia Rankwich. 100 Rand gets you fun, goodie bags, giveaways, cook-offs, chance to win a TV. And what's a celebration without cake? Grab your tickets at the Al-Ansar shop now.
Verily, every soul shall taste death. A gentle reminder for all of us. The Al-Ansar Outreach warmly invites you, dear sisters, to our annual Ghusl classes, a sacred journey guided by respected mu'allimas. Ladies only. Saturday, 25th October, 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Seats are limited, so don't delay. Register now, 031 208 1601.
Teaching you something new every day. Radio Al Ansar.
Doctors and guests on the Medical Files program will help you with any medical problems you have by giving you advice on air. However, they do not have your full medical history and they have not seen you. Please verify the advice given to you on air with your doctor who knows you better. Neither the doctors nor Radio Al Ansar will be held responsible for any ill health caused by the advice given on Radio Al Ansar.
You are listening to a live broadcast from Radio Al Ansar, Pietermaritzburg, 105.6 FM.
No mistake when you're by my side. I take this lonely world and strive. Every time you next to me, I get that sweet serenity. The heavenly sweet love, heavenly sweet love, coming from way up above. It's the love, 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 sweet love. The heavenly sweet love. I have to say goodbye when I cross over to the other side. But here you wait for me until we can spend eternity. Every time you're next to me, I get that sweet serenity. The heavenly sweet love. Coming from way up above.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to our listeners on this beautiful Saturday morning on Radio Al Ansar Durban 90.4 and Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM. You with Shubnum Ismail on the PMB Pulse Show, capturing the heartbeat of the community. So are you tired of conflicting nutrition advice? Want to know the truth about food and your health? Joining me today is Laika Maharaj, an established registered dietitian in our city of choice, who's here at the station in Pietermaritzburg to dish out all the facts and explore practical tips for a balanced lifestyle. So let's get started, and it's great to have you on the show, Laika.
Thanks, Shubnum. Thanks so much for having me here. It's such an honor.
It's been an interesting morning where we're unpacking the facts and what we need to do right and better.
Yes.
So what dietary recommendations would you make for our athletes or individuals with high physical activity levels?
I think the first thing that I would emphasize with anyone with high physical levels, or athletes for that matter, is rest and hydration. That always comes first. And thereafter, we always like to push a protein within limit. And it's really important for those athletes is to determine what our goals is with them. Is it muscle mass? Do we want to strengthen? What are our goals? And I like to introduce one of the 20 essential amino acids in that case, which only come from dietary sources or from supplementation if the dietary sources is not enough. So in terms of athletes and high exercise individuals, I would recommend either glutamine or creatine within the guidelines. So not taking extra, taking as much as you need.
Do you normally see patients that actually have organ challenges by overusage of certain supplements?
Yes, actually, that's actually quite frequent that I do see that. And a lot of the times it's people overestimating their protein goals. They tend to think that they've got to take, sometimes I've had people tell me they're taking 3 grams of protein per kg body weight. And honestly, Shubnam, the nutritional guidelines and research tells us that we should stick within a limit of 0.8 grams to maximum 1.3 grams per kg body weight of protein. And that obviously is on a highly individualized basis. There's many factors to consider when individualizing a protein content. Otherwise, it will indeed cause damage, especially in that renal patient or that liver patient where we are trying to limit protein.
I feel the next question is really vital. It's for every category of an individual's stage of life. So from pregnancy to old age, can you tell us what are some of the nutritional changes that we'll see in these categories of development?
Wow. I don't think we have that much time on the radio show, but I will try and summarize it as well
Okay.
as I can. So, if I were to talk about pregnancy at that point, in terms of the mum, we would prioritize folic acid and calcium and really get her iron levels up and limiting vitamin A levels. Once she's given birth, we are then able to take her protein level up, manage her nutritionally, start introducing vitamin A again, and then move her onto a healthy diet. In terms of the baby, with their development, for 0 to 6 months, we recommend breastfeeding, of course, in the cases in which we are able to breastfeed successfully for 6 months, right up until 2 years old. At 6 months, we start to introduce foods. At 1 year, we start to introduce cow's milk. And then within those 5 years, we actually really manage your kiddie's growth. And we've got to monitor their growth chart because they're able to lose and gain very quickly. In that time, obviously, with kids, we would emphasize vitamin A and iron. Okay, and protein, of course. After 5, right into adulthood, would always be protein. But after that, macronutrients are sort of the same. But if I were to tell you about micronutrients in women that are of premenopausal age, so usually in my females that are 40 and older, I must introduce calcium and vitamin D, because when you enter that menopausal state, you begin to have increased bone loss. And often enough, your diet is not enough to manage that bone loss. So we've got to look at every woman over 40 and where are they with their diet and their dairy sources and their vitamin D and their calcium, and how's it looking with them. Men, that obviously changes throughout their stages, but relatively the same. They don't have as much hormonal influence in terms of their body as females do. Yeah.
And I know throughout my shows, I try to emphasize to the listeners to have regular checks with the GP, to tune in and check that your
100%.
vitals
Yeah.
and your needs analysis to see if you are lacking vitamin D, you need more calcium, and vice
Yes.
versa, so that you are remaining nourished, mind,
Yes.
body, and soul.
And vitamin D actually is very underestimated. And during COVID, there was quite a few research papers that indicated that a very low vitamin D level did indeed correlate with poorer outcomes.
Yeah.
And that is vitamin D levels less than 12. So I usually tell my patients, stick your nose out in the sun, take a walk, get some milk in, get some Greek yogurt in, increase your dietary sources of vitamin D so that you don't have a problem, because frankly, most of our time we spend indoors, so we're not getting as much vitamin D as we need. And vitamin D is the vitamin that we should be having a lot of. It influences so much in the body.
Yeah.
And in my elderly patients, I didn't answer your question completely. I always make sure that I maintain lean mass with them, and I introduce a protein within their limit. With my grandparents, my grandfather's 84 and my grandmother's 80. And at some point I could tell that they were becoming a little bit frail, and age was taking a toll on them. And I introduced some protein into their diet in terms of supplementation and just managing their diet a little bit better with their protein. And I must say, Shubnam, just from a family perspective, from a personal perspective, I see a lot of difference in them, just cognitively and in their activity levels. So I always try and emphasize adequate protein to my patients. It doesn't have to be from a supplement. It can be from food sources, and the guidelines tell us plant-based proteins: beans, peas, lentils.
And let's talk about research. I mean, how do you keep in touch or in tune with advancements in medicine, research, and is there anything that's recent and new in terms of dietitian?
The dietetics community is always evolving, so there's always something new coming along. I like to I like to do a course every year where I try to brush up on my skills and see what have I missed in this time, attend conferences, do a lot of articles. And just recently I've completed my lactation consultant exams, and that makes me one of a handful here in PMB. And breastfeeding, it's just a passion of mine. It's really just something that I found very interesting. So that really made me brush up my skills. Prior to that, I did a course in diabetes nurse educator course through the Center of Diabetes and Endocrinology, where I learned to actually look at the diabetic patient with a lot more to look at. I ask them more relevant history-taking questions, which then impact their glucose control, such as insulin technique. How are you storing your insulin? How are you injecting your insulin? How often are you changing your needle? Where are you keeping it? How are you taking it from your house to Nani's house? Or what is going on? So it's important to see that with patients that diabetics they need to be looked at with very fine lens.
Like for me, working in the medical field, I cross paths with many dietitians, and I've seen you in the ICU, in the high care setting. The recovery of the patient is obviously dependent on dietitians, because you guys deal with the pig feed and
100%,
the liquid
yeah.
diet, and you guys work with the team to ensure that patient is getting stabilized and nourished while they're on an oxygen management system, etc.
Yes.
How's the challenges, and how do you feel about this? I mean, do you feel pressurized dealing with a trauma patient? And I mean, going in and walking in and getting a newly referred patient, how is your levels of anxiety and managing this patient?
Shubnam, every patient is different. There's so much to consider when it comes to my anxiety in a patient. But I really enjoy my critical care or my complicated surgical patient, because at that point I can really maximize their nutrition. The research tells us that if we do not get protein in within a certain time, obviously that would affect our mortality rates and our hospital length of stay. So getting a dietitian involved from day 0 is actually essential for patient outcomes. And every patient's goal differs. It differs from exactly what are we expecting. With the complicated gastrointestinal patient, our goal would be to establish tolerance. With the critical care patient, our goal would be to minimize muscle wasting. In the diabetic patient, it would be to manage their sugar control. So every patient's different, and I think the anxiety levels differ.
So, listeners, we are fueling your mind, everything about nutrition. Laika is here to spill the beans on the latest nutrition trends. So we're going to uncover secrets to get a healthier you. We're going to take a short break with the Soulful Nasheed to uplift and inspire this Saturday morning. And when we return, we'll be back in conversation, not like a registered dietitian. Lucky to have you in the studio today and sharing your valuable insight on what we can eat and what we cannot.
Urban, it's time to lace up for the Breakfast Rush Family 5-kilometer fun run and walk, 11 October, 7 a.m. at the Blue Lagoon Lawns. Feel the rush as you race past the iconic Moses Mabhida Stadium and take in the ocean breeze along the Durban Promenade. Then the fun really begins. Scavenger hunts, kite building, burger eating contests, food trucks, prizes, and a 6-hour live broadcast from Radio Al Ansar. Bring a brand new toy to spread joy to children in hospital, powered by the Cellular City Group of Vodacom stores.
Get Green Thumbs Up, the gardening and natural living show you didn't know you needed. I'm your host and life coach, Rabia Carvalho, and we're talking birds, bees, butterflies, and blooms. growing fruit, garden, home-based holistic healing, and much more. Whether you're a seasoned gardener, lover, plus or professional, we got you. We got you. Let us bring you the ideas, the facts, support, and inspiration to go green wherever you are. Sundays 9 to 10 a.m. only on Radio Al Ansar.
Ladies, are you concerned about your health and well-being? Then the Al Ansar Cancer Support Group's annual Cancer Awareness and Chai Day is for you. Dynamic speakers, an awesome tea garden, lucky draws, free blood pressure and sugar checks, free entry. Join us on Saturday the 25th of October at the Al Ansar Hall, 189 West Road, Overport, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Let's unite to fight cancer's might.
اللهم إنك ترى ما نزل بنا في غزة من الأحوال يا ذا الجلال والعزة يا ذا الجبروت والعزة اللهم أعز أهل غزة اللهم فرج عن أهل غزة اللهم فرح أهل غزة اللهم انصر أهل غزة اللهم داوي جريحهم اللهم اشف مريضهم اللهم اقبل شهيدهم اللهم ارحم ميتهم اللهم كفف جراحاتهم وبرد آلامهم اللهم واجعل لهم وللمسلمين فرجا قريبا يا الله اللهم فرج عنا وعن المسلمين في كل مكان اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين واخذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداء الدين يا رب العالمين سبحانك سبحانك ترى الظالمين فتمهلهم حتى يظنوا أنك تهملهم وتبتلي الصالحين في الدنيا حتى يستيئسوا فإن استيئسوا أتيتهم بنصرهم اللهم إنك تعلم أن جراحات المسلمين كثيرة وآلامهم كثيرة في كل مكان وفي كل زمان اللهم فانصرنا على أعدائنا يا الله اللهم فثبت أقدامنا يا الله.
Doctors and guests on a medical files program will help you with any medical problems you have by giving you advice on air. However, they do not have your full medical history and they have not seen you. Please verify the advice given to you on air with your doctor who knows you better. Neither the doctors nor Radio Al Ansar will be held responsible for any ill health caused by the advice given on Radio Al Ansar.
You are listening to a live broadcast from Radio Al Ansar, Pietermaritzburg, 105.6 FM.
There's a pathway to peace if you want it. But the street is surrounded by thorns. Oh, you'll see and smell roses you think you like. But they're only there so you stray from the course. Every chance that I get when I stand in some hard, praying for guidance and hoping you honest my heart. Love and faith filling up, but I know it'll fall. It isn't for long. Got it, can't stop it, won't slow up, keep walking, we fall down real often, it's all good, keep falling down, get up again and again, sin and repent again and again. You are peace, bring me peace. I'm on my knees for you. Please, anything for you, I will be. All I need. Oh Lord, you are peace, bring me peace.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to our listeners on this Saturday morning on Radio Al Ansar 90.4 in Pietermaritzburg, 105.6 FM. I'm Shubnum Ismail, the heartbeat of the community on the Pulse Show. And today we have Laika Maharaj, a registered dietitian, who's sharing valuable insights on the management of nutrition. And remember, listeners, small changes today can lead to a healthier tomorrow. So, Laika, as we were in conversation, for me as a busy working individual and so many thousands and hundreds of individuals out there, we run a rat race during the day. Can you tell us, in terms of staying hydrated during the day, some tips that might help us keep our energy levels sustained and how we can get it right with our diet?
I love that question because that is such a relevant question. Even to myself personally, that is a very relevant question because despite being a dietitian, I myself find that I don't drink enough water some days, or I miss lunch, or whatever the case is. Just very bad eating choices. So in order to overcome this, I like to look at the individual's lifestyle and what are they capable of doing during their working day, and where do they usually purchase their convenient meals from. And then I try to see within their limit, okay, how much do they need to be eating to meet nutritional requirements? And then do I need to add in anything else to balance it? So I always recommend with my patients that are on the go that they keep light snacks in the car, which would be nuts and seeds or trail mix. Those are high kilojoules, high in protein and fat, but they don't really affect you as much. My personal favorite as of late has been medjool dates. And this is something that, I never thought that I would ever come across because my first experience with dates was not that great, but now I'm totally hooked on it. And the great thing about dates is that they don't affect your sugar levels as much as something else with the same sugar content would, like a glass of Coke for that matter. And that's because they are so high in fiber. And I say this to all of my Muslim patients. This is why you are told to break your Ramadan fast with dates, because it has such an excellent impact on the body and on your sugar levels, and it's so high in fiber, which makes it excellent for your gut health. So I keep a little packet of dates in my car with some nuts and seeds and a bit of corn with chutney, barbecue flavored, or whatever the case is, just to get me through those days where, obviously I would have days where I would miss lunch. So I tell everybody, don't be too hard on yourself, as long as we can maximize the time that you do have control over. So you do have control over the time that you're in your car. So in that time, have some healthy snacks.
I'm definitely going to add some dates to my lunchbox.
Definitely. Don't exceed 6 a day, though.
So tell our listeners, in terms of nutrition, counseling for individuals with cultural or religious dietary restrictions, how do you manage that?
Shabnam, I think in 2025, it's very hard to find somebody who eats exactly as the next person, be it for cultural reasons, be it for religious reasons, be it simply because they don't like it. So every patient that I see has got their own sets of rules and regulations for their diet. And I think that if it's something that they mention up front, then it is something to definitely consider when planning their diet, because that's obviously a core concept of who they are. So I like to stick to their religious, cultural, or whatever belief it may be, to try and maximize their diet, because diet is not a one-size-fits-all approach. And the same thing that's going to work for you is really not going to work for me.
And in terms of strategies with individuals with eating disorders, how can they manage that?
I think eating disorders is a very specialized field. In order for you to deal with a specific severe eating disorder case, which would be anorexia or bulimia, or even binge eating, which is considered an eating disorder, it is a more of a non-diet approach. So it's more of a psychological approach. But I feel that almost a lot of my patients do have an eating disorder of some sort. And an eating disorder comes from your mind. And it's your mind telling you that this is what's going on. So I always like to manage every patient in the best psychological way possible from a coaching perspective so that we can establish a good relationship with food. And that's all that it is about.
I know that the coffee addicts in the morning, I need caffeine in my
I
system. I'm one
am
of them as
officially a
well.
caffeine addict.
So, I mean, is there any pros and cons with having too much of caffeine?
As there would be with anything. Too much of anything is not good for you. It is all about balance. I personally love caffeine. I love coffee, and I drink Jacob's Gold coffee, so it's quite a strong coffee. But I do limit myself in the day to 3 cups of coffee a day, which to me is still like, it's a lot. It's coffee. Caffeine is a stimulant, you know, so it has its own effect on the body. But the guidelines state not more than 6. For those of you who wanted an actual number, 6 is the limit.
Yes. And in terms of prioritizing nutritional interventions for patients with multiple health conditions, we're talking about renal failure, probably impairment with kidneys and liver, and you're dealing with this patient coming to you.
Yes.
How do you deal with obviously multiple health conditions?
The first thing I'd like to say is that as a clinical dietitian, I am able to deal with medical or clinical conditions. A nutritionist, for that matter, or somebody who's had a 6-week course would not be able to. So I just felt like it's important for me to mention that if you do have any clinical conditions, it's important for you to see a clinical dietitian who knows how to manage a condition. Because honestly speaking, Shubnum, every diabetic has got a deranged lipid profile. They have got correlated hypertension. They are slightly on the higher end of the BMI. So most of my patients that I see do have multiple comorbidities that we are dealing with. Yet I find they're making an appointment for weight loss and not for the sugar that is not under control. So I always tell them, you know, your health, once it starts declining and you don't do anything about it, it starts becoming a rat race. So start while you're seeing the belly fat starting. Start while you have noticed that your lifestyle is not on par. Start now. Don't wait for Monday. Don't wait for Tuesday. If you're thinking about it now, start it now. Otherwise, you're going to land in a position where you've got multiple comorbidities. With those patients, we always, just as a general rule, I always emphasize a plant-based diet, not a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet. By plant-based, I mean has plant-based components in it, like beans, peas, lentils, chickpeas, that is in the meal itself. Plant-based meaning not from any animal sources. And that's where the true benefit comes in.
Dietitian and dietetics is such a broad area, and I mean, you've covered so much in so little in terms of our timing. We're definitely going to have you again on the show to talk about other elements of diet and dietetics, and your information has been really valuable in terms of nutrition, making the right decisions. Remember, listeners, small changes today can lead to a healthier tomorrow. Laika, do you have any closing messages or tips for our listeners on how they can actually make the right choices?
My favorite part of today's session is actually telling everybody my tips. And they're not very complicated, but they make the absolute most difference. The first tip would be to make sure that you're staying active for 10 minutes at least. For those patients who cannot afford a gym membership or are just not into the gym like myself, sometimes I stream 10-minute YouTube videos just of a stretch, just to stretch your body. 10 minutes of mindfulness for yourself every day makes a world of difference. The second thing I would mention is to eat your food in the correct order, because this impacts your glucose levels. And that would be to have your vegetable as a starter portion in the form of a salad or a cooked veg, just half a cup before you eat your protein and starch. And that actually minimizes the effect that that carb will have on your sugar levels. The third tip I would like to give is to complicate your carbs. They are not the bad guy if you don't make them the bad guy. They are the petrol for the petrol tank that's in your head, not the diesel tank. So carbs have their place, and it's important to improve their quality. And this is where my very favorite vegetable biryani rice comes in. And that's because it's so full of fiber from your mixed veg and from your brown lentils that it actually negates the effect that the carb has on your sugar levels. It's high in fiber, so good, healthy gut microbiome, nice soft stool, no constipation, good sugar levels, and you're enjoying your meal because it's biryani, and how could you not?
But that doesn't mean our listeners
Not
need to
an
cook
Indian
biryani every day.
not an Indian biryani where we are packing it with ghee, but the point of the savory rice, I think that would be a better word to use than biryani. Savory rice, meaning frozen mixed bag of veg. Toss it in there with a little bit of brown lentils. You can braise it as normal with onion and garlic and some vegetable oil and just to give it some flavor. There's nothing wrong with flavor, and that's the fourth point that I wanted to make. Curries are perfectly fine. Raising your food is perfectly fine. It's all about being mindful of the amount of oil we're putting, of the kind of carb we're eating, of the amount of sugar we're eating, of the amount of processed food that we are eating. It all comes down to being mindful of knowing where to draw the line and saying, listen, this is enough. Otherwise, we'll be eating forever.
Listeners, be mindful. And Laika, how can they get in touch with you? Where are you based in Pietermaritzburg?
So I'm currently based in Wembley, and I run an outpatient practice. They can actually get a hold of me on my Facebook page or my Instagram page. So it's Laika Maharaj, the dietitian. And you can find me on Instagram and TikTok. I'm sorry, Instagram and Facebook, and soon to be TikTok. We're getting there slowly. And even if you Google the name, it does come up.
That's amazing. And thank you so much. And to our listeners, it's been an amazing episode today. And we hope, like our expert advice, has inspired you to take charge of making the right choices with your food selections for a healthier you. To the medical specialists listening to the show, there is a South African medical conference in Pietermaritzburg on the 11th and the 12th of October. So delegates will benefit from insightful CPD lectures on neuro, gynae, chemical pathology, and even oncology. There'll also be CPDs on cardiac and an ethical debate. So candidates, if you look forward to the valuable networking, you can contact 083 786 6033. That is 083 786 6033. We got our very own medical conference in Pietermaritzburg happening next week. Until next Saturday, stay healthy and take care. I think Laika actually got me hungry, so I'm going to try and attempt and make a little bit of a biryani for lunch. Jazakallah to our technician, Bo Durban, Pietermaritzburg, for keeping us connected. And to our team out there, that is you. Take care of your health. Don't forget to share your thoughts with us on social media so we can get better and bolder for you. Have me and your family in your duas. Inshallah, we'll catch you on the flip side. From myself, Shubnum Ismail, on the Pulse Show. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Such beautiful.
So many ways you show me your love. I'm thankful for all that you've done.
Radio Al Ansar, 24/7, 365.
An informative Islamic global perspective. This is Al Ansar News.
Long school holidays began yesterday, marking the end of the third term.